Today, we are doing a 2025 NFL mock draft, and I am joined by Mike Renner. I'm going to be taking the evens. Mike's taking the odds, and let's get into this. Wait, no, you're taking the evens, right?
I'm taking evens. Yeah,
You're taking the.
You just said before you're like, I've done evens too many times, so we're and I've
yeah. You know, I'm so used to it. It's muscle memory, but yeah. I am doing the odds. You are doing the evens. Let's get into this. Let's have a great time. Obviously, Mike doesn't really need an introduction, but you know You've done so much stuff with PFF, now at CBS. Glad to have you here. How about I let you start talking, because at number one, this is going to be super duper easy, and I'm going to take Cam Ward, and I'll allow you to elaborate what you want to do it to. So go on ahead.
Cool. Yeah, I did. I was at Ward's Pro Day, and he was sweet. Like I was a fan of Ward. What I saw at his Pro Day, I was an even bigger fan. So I think it's a no-brainer. And I think two's a no-brainer too, in my opinion. I think it's Abdul Carter. Like I don't see a world where if you're the Cleveland Browns, you go anywhere other than Abdul Carter. Now, you could say you're a massive Shedeur Sanders fan and that he should go number 2 overall. And like, sure, but there's so many people saying they're not, right? There's so many people saying number 2 overall, I wouldn't take him. And like, you are out on an island if you are banging the table for Shedeur Sanders number 2 overall, in my opinion.
Okay.
And if you have Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett for the next 5 years, it's like, dude, you have the best defense in the NFL. That's just, to me, I am so intrigued by that combination that I'm not even hesitating going Abdul Carter.
See, I'm curious. So I ended up having a late love for Cam Ward to the point where I'm fully on board with him at number 1. But there was like a minute there where I was legitimately saying I'd rather have Abdul Carter and have like a number 3 pick in 2026 than, Cam Ward and a number 10. Of course, with the way they handled free agency, I feel like they can make a better push than that. But I mean, I'm fully on board with you with Abdul Carter at 2. I acted more surprised, but I mean, it seems like the smart thing to do. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions here at number 3. My gut instinct says Joe Shane doesn't reach, and that's why he's so desperate to get a bunch of vets in. I feel like Travis Hunter's the pick. What are your thoughts? Yeah. I saw you went straight you mug shot me right there. But
that's where I'd go. I'd go Travis Hunter personally.
Yeah, I mean I feel like it's the right thing to do. Never reach if you don't have to. And then again, just like you're talking at number 2, so many people are talking about Shedeur as somebody who is not necessarily graded as being worth a top 3 pick. Of all people, I don't think Joe Shane, with the way that he evaluates talent, would be one to reach. I feel like he'd rather go down with the ship saying I swung on Winston and Wilson and then maybe somebody on day 2.
Yeah. We're doing what we think is going to happen right now, what we would do, or
blend it. If we do fully predictive, it's just like, I'm going to be honest, so spoiler alert for the people watching, I'm having Trev on next week. It's going to be an absolute shit show. It's going to be the same thing over and over. I want to see exactly what you like to do.
Okay, so this one's my least favorite pick in the draft right now. Because I just board-wise, yeah, I have it. I mean, the board's gone how my board is. 1, 2, 3. Those are guys are in order. Ward, Carter, Hunter. And then my 4 is Mason Graham. And then to me, after 4, I have a fairly big gap of I don't know if I love 5. Okay. And specifically for the New England Patriots, it's you're not going Mason Graham.
Right.
You have the most money dedicated to the defensive tackle position in the NFL. I would, my next player on my board is Jalen Walker, but they just went out and signed Harold Landry. I'm not sure it's stopping me from drafting Jalen Walker, but it just doesn't seem like that's the route they're going to go. And also he's really small for a top 5 pick. So I'm going to kind of blend it, and I'm going to say this is what I think is going to happen. Maybe not necessarily what I do. I'm going to go Will Campbell from LSU.
Okay.
I think that's ultimately the pick, just because his play style, kind of chalking up a double, feels like when the Commanders drafted, or I guess they were the Redskins at the time, when they drafted Brandon Scherf, with number 5, where it's I think everyone knew he's probably a guard at the next level, but they just really wanted a good football player to kind of set the tone for a new regime, and that feels like Will Campbell here.
I like that logic, and the fact that randomly his arms grew. Also, what do you think about the combine measurements, seeing the whole fluctuation?
Well, they were all wrong.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, initially we were what the? Yeah, we were initially what the hell is going on over at the Senior Bowl and Shrine Bowl? these guys are just not knowing how to measure. And all of a sudden we're like, the combine?
Well, so that's the thing. There are like multiple indents. Like if you put your arm out to the side, there's multiple like dents, right? And places to put a ruler. And I think just whoever was doing it at the combine, they were just putting it on the wrong indent, right? They were just putting it on the wrong bump there on the shoulder, because every single guy in a lot of the groups was lower than they were measured at Shrine or Senior or wherever one they were at before. And then obviously they're into the pro days, they all grew. So I think it was mismeasured.
That's crazy to me, man. I mean, just see, because people treat, including myself until like this year now, like treat the combine measurements as the holy grail. Like
Gospel.
That's like, these people just, their primary role is to measure the dude. And it's like, man, that was mind blowing to me. Has that ever happened before where the combine legitimately got it wrong over the All-Star Bowls?
Not that I can remember, where there was just like this, you'll see some small discrepancies. I've never seen a consistently half-inch discrepancy or like, in that realm across all positions. Yeah.
On the contrary, what's up with Jalen Milroe's hands? How the hell does it go from like sub 9 to like 9 3/4? Did he just literally like stretch his fingers more? Like, I guess you could do that.
I didn't see that.
Shit. Huh?
I didn't see that he came in over 9.
I thought it was like 9 3/8. Like it grew like legitimate half-inch. That's what I was like, what? I mean, feel free to tell me.
It did. Oh my gosh, it did come in at 9 3/8. What?
I was like, oh, I was about to be exposed in front of Mike Renner.
No. I don't know what the heck's going on there either.
Yeah, I'm like, what? I mean, granted, like imagine if you're just measuring like this versus you like learn to do that. Like, yeah, I mean that could be half an inch difference, but I mean, the guy's spending more time in the weight room stretching his fingers probably than lifting, but it's just crazy. Okay, for the Jaguars at 5, what people are actually coming to see. I do think that there's just this, you think of Braden Fisk with Gladstone. I feel like having Mason Graham be the identity on the defensive interior. It's also a white dude who's a defensive interior. Kind of just makes sense. Also, like you said, he's a top end talent. He's clearly the DI1 of the class. Now, do you disagree? I sense that you're about to say like, oh, there's something that I'm doing off, or are you just...
No. I'm just contemplating. I'm like, I always have this face. It's like I said, I have Mason Graham 4th on my board.
Right.
The Jags need a DT. That one, I almost feel like you could just like chalk that one up right now, right? Like it feels like that's going to happen in real life.
For sure. I mean, I'm curious. So this is something I was going to ask you before. I forgot to ask you with the Patriots. Like, why pay Milton 26 if you're almost guaranteed to be able to get Mason? You could reallocate that to whether it was Ronnie Stanley. I mean, I don't know why the hell he wouldn't go for more, but any of the other potential tackles on the board too.
Yeah, that's why I was floored, and I didn't like that signing. It was probably my least favorite signing that they had, because he's also not like a good run defender. It's like you got Christian Barmore, who's more pass rusher than run defender too. Yeah. So it was curious, but I think they're going OT for.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, it kind of feels like that's the way they're rolling. But what are you doing at 6?
All right, pick 6. I'm gonna go with Armand Membu for the Raiders. I know everyone wants Ashton Genty here.
Woo!
They drafted DJ Glaze in the 3rd, right? And he's kind of penciling at right tackle, but to me, he's more of like a swing tackle in terms of just projection. You would rather him be your 3rd tackle.
Yeah.
Whereas Membu kind of completes an O-line that's pretty darn good offensive line at this point. So I'm more interested in that in terms of long-term success than I am like an Ashton Genty.
Oof. See, this is why I told you do not do solely predictive, because would that be your predictive pick or
no? This is me.
I was like, that's why I'm saying, like, speak with your chest, homie. Like, I want to hear this shit. Like, this is so much better than I
agree, because you can't read minds. You can, you're only like implanting your own bias onto them. So this is my bias. I got Membu.
Right. I just dropped a video breaking down like Mel Kiper's accuracy over the past 3 years. And I mean, he kicks my ass in the majority of categories. So shout out to Mel for still doing it at his age. But it's like, even of the players selected, the ones that go in the 1st round, it's still every time under 90%. So not the players going to the right team or the right position, just players going in the 1st. So it's just man, reading minds is not like, the NFL proves it to us every year that we can't read minds. I think it's fair. But first off, screw you, because that was my pick at number 7.
It's a good pick. It would have been a good pick.
Yeah, I'm like, ugh. Okay, so let's talk about this for the Jets. Interesting options here. Could talk about. I'm curious where you think Tyler Warren should go, because I feel like people are they're almost being a little bipolar with what happened with Brock Bowers, where they're just over exaggerating for someone who is generational, if that's fair to say. And they're saying, oh, now Tyler Warren can go 5. But
see, I actually have Loveland higher on my board. I think he's the better receiver of the two, and he's obviously like the younger of the two. So, yeah, I just think pass catching upside. I'd rather go Loveland. Now, I'm not taking either. Gosh, I'm trying to think of the first team. Yeah, the first team I'd probably even consider them for. Got to go down to like 13 Miami. Maybe it's the first team.
Yeah.
Maybe San Fran, 11 San Fran. Also, if you're just like Kittle at his age with his injuries, you want to do some new, 12 personnel stuff. Sure.
Okay, so for the Jets here, I mean, damn, I am so penciled in on Armand Membu that genuinely caught me off guard, and I thank you for that, because it makes it so much better for me to actually have to think for once rather than be on autopilot. But this is a defensive coach coming in. Where do you think that he's going to prioritize, especially early? Like, do you think this could be an underrated spot to go after a defensive lineman? Or do you think that edge core and even the defensive interior core is good enough for pick 7 not to really be worth the price?
Yeah, I just don't know if there's a DT that you would be willing to draft 7. Like, I wouldn't mind adding a DT, but I just don't know if, Nolan, Harmon, Grant, draft any of them at 7. It just feels rich.
It feels rich. Edge wise, do you think they're set? Because I see people draft an edge to them all the time.
I mean, no one's ever like set, right? Because they always see the field.
Yeah, there's always rotation.
You can always add, and especially with Jermaine Johnson's injury history at this point, it's difficult to rely on that guy. But it just feels like they probably won't. What's that? It'd be 3 first rounders in 5 years off the edge, maybe.
Yeah.
Or 4 years.
Yeah.
Not even 5 years, 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years.
So
that's crazy. So for you, would you say Tet should be the pick that you would predict here? Or
right here?
Like, this is a tough position. I gotta be honest. This was I did not expect to be at this specific spot, because I want to go defense head coach, right? But I just don't see the clear value pick here. I mean, I love Will Johnson. I don't know where you're at there. I assume you value athleticism more than I do, I believe.
Yeah. So the top player on my board right now would be Jalen Walker.
That'd be intriguing.
I don't think they'd add that to that room, though.
After
Walker? That.
Yeah. No, you go first. I'll ask clarifying.
After that, Kelvin Banks. And again, you do need a tackle, but are you flipping a guy from left to right? You saw how bad Fashanu was when he flipped left to right as a rookie. It was terrible. So, there's no great fit, right? It's another team where it just doesn't.
I think that we can agree that if we're going to give Justin Fields the best chance, giving him somebody who is lanky and is somebody who could be, I mean, I know that Marcus, that franchise guy, shout out to him. He talks a lot about how he loves Tetaroa's IQ and being able to slow down in certain spots to be very quarterback friendly. I feel like if you are going to give Justin Fields the best opportunity, the way he threw to George Pickens and then having that quarterback friendly IQ, this might be the best route. Like, would you be? Yeah, I feel like that's the right move.
I like Tet, man. I think so. That's why I say after the top 4, there just doesn't feel like a lot of home runs. Tet feels like a great double, though. And a lot of times in the draft, you go searching for home runs. Sometimes you strike out. If there's a double sitting there, just get on base. I feel like Tet's getting you on base more often than not. And a great complementary skill set to Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, for sure. Now I'm curious, are you going to go with your guy, your number, 5?
Yes, I am. This one's the one that I think everyone picks this. If I can find it on Trev's board here.
He finally moved him up to 28 from 50.
Okay, thank God. I don't have to go to the next page anymore. All right. Yeah, Jalen Walker, Georgia edge. I love the fit. Scheme fit, need fit, talent fit.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites.
It fits. So just to clarify, you said edge, correct? More than linebacker?
Edge, yes.
Edge? Okay.
3-4 outside linebacker. That's
it's hybrid.
In that scheme, he drops into coverage 4 or 5 times a game. right? That's where you want him.
Okay. How much of a difference do you believe there is between his linebacker play and his edge play? Because I see there's a very large variety of opinions on this.
I think it's pretty big, just
Okay.
in terms of like potential.
Okay.
Like his best aspect of his linebacker play is rushing the passer, which is like, you're that good at it, just like let him do it all the time.
That is fair. All right. Well, number 9. So this is why I was going to ask you about, like, when you were saying the earliest teams. I'm a sucker for Warren to New Orleans. I know they just signed Juwan to that 3-year deal. I just know Kellen Moore loves his tight ends to death.
Dude,
like
freaking loves tight ends.
Yeah. Like, if
he'll
there's
he'll play any guy 6'5", 250 over a wide receiver 3
any day.
Any day.
Any day, dude. Yeah. So, like, that's why I've been saying, like, I feel there's this sense that maybe Warren could go higher because NFL feels like a very copycat league, that I think Juwan Johnson was a mitigation move in case you couldn't go Tyler Warren. But the question is, do you think that they're like, this is where I sense you're looking at Mykel Williams. I know that you're pretty high on him, but is there anybody else you'd be targeting?
Honestly, for them, I would probably draft Kelvin Banks. Like, if I was on the clock right now, I'd go Kelvin Banks just because you can play him at guard if you need be. Or honestly, I'd probably kick Talia into left guard, and I'd play Banks at left tackle, and then I'd just have this great run blocking O-line.
That would be insane. That'd be ridiculous. I'm not there with Kelvin myself, and I want you, since you're more passionate about him, to have the opportunity to take him and just, like, say it.
I will with the next pick.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, we got a little spoiler there. What are your thoughts about Ashton Jeanty potentially going to a Boise State alum? Because I've seen a lot of people try to pitch this one. But I don't really
with me. What's the Super Bowl? What's the Super Bowl window for the Saints? Right? Where is it right now? What year?
Matt, like the earliest would be 2 to 3 years from now. Earliest. Correct. That's like a perfect like.
And so you're burning
multiple years.
Running backs year 1 might as well be, at the peak of their game, right? It's almost like you start at the top and then you slowly go down with injuries and whatnot. So you're burning the cheapest parts of his contract. You're burning his best years to do diddly poo. So I'm just not interested in that. If I'm the Saints, I'm more interested in that if I'm a team that looks like they're 1 to 2 years away.
You know what? I love that explanation. I'm gonna go to Tyler Warren. I'm gonna throw my curveball in here. If there's gonna be a guy to do it, it's going to be Kellen Moore.
All right. That leaves me with Kelvin Banks, who I don't know why I have him OT1. I mean, like, I do know why. I just love the fluidity with which he moves. It's just so easy.
Yeah.
His hip fluid, like just his ability to, rotate, drop his hips, react to stunts, his ability to like be flexible with his lower half into blocks. He just the kind of athlete that I think is going to figure it out. So he may not be, ticking every box, or it may not have like super high end, whatever, but he's just so good across the board. And his biggest weakness is obviously like he's a forward lean in the running game, forward lean in pass pro.
Mm-hmm.
I think he can get fixed because I don't think his balance is bad in the open field. I think it's actually awesome in the open field, but just he needs to get better posture in his stance. And I think you see it at times, just inconsistency in that regard.
Well, I mean, I think we were all surprised when he ended up coming in at 6'5" as well. It's like, okay, well, this guy is not built like 6'3" or shorter to where
he's got the biggest wingspan of all these tackles. He's got 7-foot wingspan. The guy has broad shoulders, very big dude.
So I'm curious because some people who are watching this probably don't fully understand the context, and I don't have the same level of appreciation that I think I should for wingspan. Could you explain to the people like why wingspan matters so much? Like why it's like a legitimate thing compared to
so wingspan, I feel like if I were measuring an NFL player, the two things I would want to know is how tall their hips are and how wide their wingspan is. Because on a football field, whether it's catching a football, whether it's like touching a guy in pass pro, whatever, engaging, you basically start from the middle of your chest, right? To go touchless. So like even arm length, if I have super broad shoulders, but only 32-inch arms, it's not that big a deal. I still have this big sphere that I can get to, right? Like that's where the game is played. It's not played from the bottom of your cleats to the top of your helmet. It's played from the middle of your chest to the outside of your hands. That's where trench play is. That's where tackling happens. That's, pretty much everything, even catching the ball at wide receiver. So that's why I lean more on wingspan as a measure than height. It's more impactful on a football field. And then why I say measure how tall their hips are is because you got lower hips, you can get lower. Kyle Long, one of my podcast co-hosts here at CBS, he loves to say he likes guys in the trenches who have long torsos.
Yeah.
Because if you have a long torso, you can get leverage. You can get your hips lower than the other guys, but then you can also get that first touch. And he always points out Zadarius Smith. He's like, that guy is built the way you want to build a defensive end because he's got these stubby legs and then this really long torso, so he can get on you and then play with leverage, even though he's really tall. So it's something that, I starting out scouting, I didn't think about these things that in depth, but the more you see it, the more you're like, yeah, that's actually, very important. That's kind of how the game is played. So it's something that I have learned to identify and factor into my process.
Okay. I'm curious. Do you flip it for corners almost to where, cause I don't know if you saw this, Jabbar Muhammad, his legs are so short that I thought that his actual step distance, his stride length,
he couldn't go fast enough.
Yeah. I'm like, what the hell?
Can't cover enough ground. Well, I mean, speed for corner still matters.
Right.
When you're higher cut though, it is harder to change direction. So it is still you still want to have a blend. So it's always whatever. I mean, there's guys who are super high cut who are getting by with Kyle Hamilton doesn't have short legs, but that guy's just a one of one. So it's obviously all relative to the athlete still, but there are certain traits that help you.
Fair enough. So for San Fran, medical, how medicals affect the draft more than I do. Do you think the shoulder's a legit red flag on people's board?
The shoulder for
Jahad Campbell.
Sorry. Okay. I
keep forgetting. I'm like, I didn't even talk about it yet.
Because Colston Loveland has a shoulder too.
I guess it could apply to both for that aspect.
I don't know. Injuries are always hard. I think shoulder though, obviously for a linebacker, that's pretty impactful.
I know.
It's just going to be medical rechecks. They always get those the week before, and that's probably when you get more info. So hard to say right now.
Fair enough. I don't know where you're at with Will Johnson. I am far more of an advocate for him than most. That doesn't mean I'm right, but I'm going to be honest. I'm curious what you think, but I'm going to select Will Johnson here for the Niners unless you have a strong opinion about somebody else.
No, he's darn good. I think he's just a very solid football player.
Yeah. Okay. Where do you have him range wise? 15?
I wish I got some pre-draft testing on him. But no, he's going to be right around here. I'm going to have him in the low teens, somewhere between 10 and 15. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I know needs to be some feeling out. Some people are very low on him. Some people, like myself, are high. So it's good to know that's going to be in that range.
All right. I have the Cowboys. Man, they can go a bunch of different ways. I think there's a one fit that I've been really kicking around with them that I'm interested to see. And it's drafting. It's not one. It's drafting one of either Jahdae Barron or Malachi Starks, because I love their secondary right now with what they have on the outside. Trayvon Diggs, Jerron Bland, those are home run guys. But slot position, if they got a real impactful slot on that defense, it could be one of the best in the NFL. I know everyone wants to give them a weapon offensively, Genty, wide receiver. I'm just going to go just for the purposes of this. I'm going to give them Jahdae Barron. I'm going to give him a slot cornerback because I think the slot in today's NFL is so valuable, and I think he's so good at it that I'll give him Jahdae just for fun. I'm not sure if for real life I would do this, but I think it's just a fun pick for that defense. I
mean, again, there's no actual way of fully predicting the draft, so it's good to be able to throw some curveballs that have some logic behind them as well. And that slot does matter. It's not, hey, this is our third best cornerback, so that's why we're putting him in the slot. I feel like that's the notion that standard people nowadays kind of want to put into the equation. No, hell, Cooper DeJean, is he ass? No, he's pretty freaking valuable. So I like that for sure. And I would say also, I'm curious, do you think that that Dak Prescott potentially could be traded, or is that just, similar to Howie calling up everybody?
No, I don't.
Okay. I didn't think so either. For the Dolphins, honestly, I feel like Malachi Starks is so safe that it feels like a solid bet to just kind of get something right. Are you for Malachi Starks to the Dolphins? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they should have just resigned Javon Holland if we're keeping it real. But since you don't have him, yeah, I'd love to start Malachi Starks.
Just so high floor. I think that's just get somebody who could be reliable in your building. Do you think Warren could go above Starks to be like the Kyle Hamilton? But I don't think he's reliable.
Hope not. I mean, for NFL team's sake, I just like that would be disregarding tape in favor of combine measurables, right? In my opinion. Okay, Starks tape's just better. So
yeah. I mean, Starks is much more well-rounded for sure.
Yeah. All right. Indianapolis Colts. Let's see. Everyone wants to give him a tight end. I don't know if like one more weapon is the missing link to Anthony Richardson figuring it out, right? I don't think that's necessarily the case.
I don't know about that. I mean,
I'm gonna go with, or what are we gonna say?
I was gonna say like the tight end position of all weapons, I feel like would be the most probable option to help out your quarterback, given that you already have the running back in place. But I mean, I don't know if Colston. I feel like Warren would be more of the safety blanket. Loveland would be if I actually trust my passer to utilize him properly. Which, I mean, we saw this past year in Michigan what happens when you don't have a reliable passer in Colston Loveland.
Yeah, right. So I'm not going to take a tight end just for them right now.
Okay.
I'm not going to take one of these tight ends. I'll look. I mean, I don't love their linebacker position, but linebacker, it's not going to be a scheme where your linebackers are blitzing a ton, right? It's not what's his face coming over from Cincinnati.
Lou
Anarumo. Those are off-ball coverage guys first and foremost. So if that's the case, G.I. Campbell probably not going to be worth it at this point in time.
Yeah,
I'm gonna just go defensive line. I think you're semi-thin up front. You just lost the Dio to the Bears.
Yeah.
And you just need depth. You look at Grover Stewart, you look at DeForest Buckner, they're both getting up there. So I'm going to go in the interior, and I'm going to go with Walter Nolan. Give your third down packages some juice, 3 technique.
I like it. I mean, it feels very similar to Latu in terms of the ability to get to the passer quickly. I feel like they value that ability to get through the offensive line. Maybe not. I remember our last last mock draft we did. We were talking about Leontu Latu not being like a guaranteed 3-down guy, and I feel like Walter Nolan's still working on his 3-down ability as well. So I think that they're going to value that and leverage it with the other talents and veterans that they have around them to where I think they can make it work. I actually I've never done that myself, but I definitely could see that ending up working out. And I could always see freaking Ballard saying, I'd be like, haha, I got the best defensive interior in the class. Like, smug.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people had him go Latu last year. And well,
no, I don't think. What was the pick last year? I'm pretty sure everyone sat in corner or something.
Yeah.
It was like Quinion Mitchell.
Yeah, Quinion.
Yeah. Like that was, I think, the one I did. But Falcons here, I see a lot of people going Jahad Campbell. Now, I know that I'm pretty sure Ulbrich likes his edge rushers to be stand-up to basically be outside linebackers, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, I understand the idea behind it. I'm just going to be honest. I want to hear if you agree with me on this. I haven't seen Raheem Morris or Ulbrich really develop someone like Jahad Campbell, who I think needs more of a mentorship than like for me to feel super comfortable with it. Like, what are your thoughts on that versus like me potentially going after another edge position here?
Yeah, I would just go edge for the Falcons. I don't think.
Don't overcomplicate it.
With you. Yeah.
Yeah, don't overcomplicate it. Between Michael and I know Mike Green's getting a ton of love. Which one? I mean, I know Michael's not necessarily stand-up, so Mike Green's a little bit of a better fit. Would you be debating between Ezraku and Green because of the rumors about Pearson off the field?
No, I have Green with a significantly higher grade. I just think he's a very good pass rusher at minimum. So yeah.
Honestly, let's bring Mike Green to Atlanta, baby. I love it. Just bring the juice.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bring the Juice podcast. Let's see what you do here.
I'm going to go, just because I love these DTs, I'm going to go Derek Harmon here. And it's a big need for the Cardinals. Just to add more beef. I mean, you're starting DTs like trying to think after they signed Dalvin Tomlinson.
Right.
I'm not sure I can name another like starter for them. I think they have like
you
Justin Jones or like it's just a thin group of non-impactful players. So Derek Harmon is I think he's awesome, man. I think he's a very, very good defensive tackle prospect. Both him and Nolan they're top 15 guys for me.
Oh, wow. Okay, so top 15. Like maybe so I was a big sucker for Harmon when he was over at Michigan State. Like I remember I forget what game it was, but I'm like, who the hell is this kid? So it's so good to see him end up like flourishing into the talent that he is. Is it like purely tape based? That's why you have him that high? Or was maybe he was like 20 or 25 and then the 34 plus inch arms are like, oh shit, got to vault this guy up more.
I liked his tape. And then I'll just say I had him as a good athlete. I thought he tested better than I even thought. I was like, okay, well, there we have it. Like if his tape was that good and he's that caliber an athlete and just you put together a defensive tackle, it's going to look like that. Like he's just, he could do any role on the interior, nose tackle, 3-tech, 4-5, like 2-gap, 1-gap. It's just, this guy's talented. So if you're the Cardinals, you just need a guy who can play any down on the interior.
Oh yeah. Well, for the Bengals here, they whiffed in terms of being able to sign some good value guards in free agency. I would not mind them taking Zabel. Do you have Zabel worth like this mid to late first range? Like a lot of people, or are you a little bit more pessimistic on that?
I don't. I just don't see dominant physical play strength to warrant. Like if I'm paying a guard high, he better be like a imposing guard, right?
Okay.
Zabel's a great athlete. Athletic guard. I do worry for the Bengals specifically. Like for the Bengals specifically, I'd lean Booker. Yeah. Just because of what they run right now, with it's just like gap power. And dude, put Booker next to those tackles. Those like
that would be nasty
monsters. Yeah. So that's why for them specifically. But if you're talking about, I'm trying to think who else, like the Vikings, who could need a guard, I'd go Zabel for them over Booker. So it's like just depends on the scheme you run.
You know what? I'm honestly debating going after Mike Hill at this point. I'm checking RJ's weight off the bat. Yeah, 260. I think Al Golden can potentially get his better variation of RJ Oben with Michael Williams. I feel like this is a good range for him, right?
And Michael is like Duke Tobin. His type is Michael Williams. That's all he's drafted at the edge is all 6'5", 34-inch arm plus. That's all they've done for the last 20 years. So
there you go.
Makes so much sense.
Okay. Make me feel even better about it.
All right. Seattle Seahawks. Oof. Interesting board here.
Genty slipped so far. That's crazy.
He's like pick 20s. I'm taking him there. I will be. Gosh, they really could use a guard, Seattle Seahawks, but they just switched to a pure outside zone scheme with what's his face coming over from New Orleans.
No, Kubiak.
Yeah. So Tyler Booker, again, like he's a gap scheme guard. I would not draft him in the first round for any team if you're going to run a lot of stretch. If you're going to get out in the sideline. So I've seen mocks with him going 18. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Doesn't fit.
That being said, I don't know where else they would go, right? They really need interior offensive line. You don't have a lot of needs on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
The cornerback class maybe could have been one of them, but it's cooked at this point. I don't think I'd draft any other cornerback in the first round, truthfully.
Okay.
Wide receiver, I mean, they could use some speed. I'm not that high on Matthew Golden, though. 18 is a big reach for me. So, gosh.
It's a tough position. Could I pitch you on something?
Yeah. Let me hear. What do you think?
What about Jahad Campbell?
I know that was actually where my mind was going right now.
There we go. Yeah.
Mike McDonald uses those linebackers at the line of scrimmage a lot. Blitz packages. He's kind of one of the godfathers of this new renaissance of, these blitz packages that are just impossible to figure out. So I'll go Jahad Campbell. That's the kind of backer you want in that scheme. I
just love the versatility. I know McDonald just loves to utilize his defensive pieces like they're like chess pieces.
But it's interchangeable. I mean, like they make some run and be able to know all the alignments up front so that from any formation they can run them.
No, I absolutely love that fit. I just rarely have them slipping to this point, but when you talk about shoulder with a linebacker, it's just I get instantly a little bit worried about their stock falling a little bit. 19 to the Buccaneers. Honestly, how you're talking about doubles I feel like Ezeraku kind of is a double.
I agree with that take.
That's just like I highly doubt, and I mean they were literally the first team to sign a player in free agency, and that was off the bat Hassan Reddick. So to me, that communicates that they're okay with maybe not a bigger edge. Of course, they're happy sticking with the Joe Tryon Shoyinka mold with the athleticism and everything. I don't think Ezeraku has that level of athleticism. I think you'd agree. Like in terms of Hassan Reddick.
Yeah. He's not.
I think James Pierce would be more up the alley, but I just don't know if Bulls is going to put up with the potential off-field concerns I've seen. Do you genuinely think that Pierce could slip out the first?
Yeah, I also because I mean his tape is good, not amazing in my opinion. I think it's fine. You know, like it's for his traits. He's definitely more traits based than film based. In my opinion. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I saw a lot of people talking about how Pierce is on a lot of times they put him on the weak side consistently, like pretty much try to get him out of being the primary defender, especially versus the run. So I'm curious. I don't know if you saw that, but that's something that people have been saying to me, and I did not necessarily.
He doesn't have power element now, in my opinion.
I heard that
scare an NFL offensive tackle. So
I would say I don't know that many players in this class that have scary power, but we'll get to a couple of the guys that we'll talk about in a minute. But I do think Ezeraku, especially. Do you think Bulls is on the hot seat at all? No.
Come on.
I mean, as a head coach, I have my
Bucks are loyal. Bucks are loyal. It's a loyal franchise. Okay. They're not.
Well, I do also think that, like, especially because they emphasize it so early in free agency, 1-year deals to me communicate that they're going to, take it in the draft. I'm going to go Ezeraku and just hit the nice double.
Yeah, I like that pick. All right, I'm going to go Genty for the Broncos.
Oh,
not breaking any ground there, but
that's insane.
We'll do it.
Like, how the hell did that? It's crazy because when you start seeing players slip, there's another one right now in Shedeur Sanders who's technically still on the board. Like you realize why like players fall in the draft. It's like sometimes it's easy to forget about them.
And just some people there's certain positions and certain skill sets. It's just like only a few teams will be willing to take.
Right.
And if a couple of them don't, all of a sudden it's like, oh shoot, who's the next team that's even willing to?
You can say shit on the show.
It's the Broncos. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
you can cuss
I'm on CBS now, dude. I have to.
You got to filter. Well,
all right. Like for my stuff, if I'm doing anything CBS branded, all of a sudden you gotta
button it up.
Yeah.
Take an extra button. Like, all right, you got to tie the tie a little tighter. I get that. Well, for the Steelers, I wonder, do you think they would take Shedeur at 21? I know that the position need is there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think they would.
You wouldn't say that they'd be cute and try to wait until drafts and Pitt?
What's his face? Rand Carthon just started at CBS, obviously former Titans GM. He's of the opinion that if Shedeur makes it out of people are thinking he makes it out of 6 now at this point. Because if the Giants pass, then it's just the Raiders, and the Raiders now are going to pass. And so where is the next team? He thinks they'd trade up. He thinks they would go up, move up ahead of that's the thing. Is like who in there would take a Shedeur after if the Giants do pass on him at 3. There's just a lot of teams. But then there's also the fact that someone behind you could also trade up. So he thinks that they would make a move. So
honestly, I do think if Shedeur continues slipping to around this point, I know that the Buccaneers also are pretty pick strapped off the top of my head. That could be a range for a team to jump the Steelers, or the Steelers could just make a small move. I would love to see the Giants just say, well, Joe Shane's I'm going to get fired after this year if I don't do this. So fuck the extra picks and just go up and pair up Trav and Shedeur again. I could end up seeing that potentially working out and being a unique combination.
That'd be interesting.
That would be fun, wouldn't it?
Very interesting.
Yes. That'd be fun.
And that's again a team that could jump them, and I wouldn't surprise me if that would be the case, because again, I mean who is it when the Bears got Fields?
Yeah,
it was the lame duck GM. It was kind of the same situation with what's his face?
I can't remember the GM of the Bears back then.
It was also named Ryan. Ryan. So he went from
my God. He went to the Falcons, right? I think he's on the Falcons now. Oh man, I'm tripping. But feel free to look it up. But yeah, I think while you're doing that, Shedeur, our offense. So I'm a Steelers fan.
Ryan Pace.
There we go. Our offense, I don't think needs a ton of big playmaking ability, especially like if you can make him Shitter Sanders into like prime Ryan Tannehill. That's all you need to have success, and you have a good run game. Now, do you have Amari and Hampton high?
Not this high.
Okay.
I like him a lot. I just don't.
You would not take him over Shadur?
No.
Okay. Fair enough. You're on the board.
Oh, you did take Shadur. Okay.
I did. Yeah. I mean, like,
sorry, I was.
Yeah, I'm not going to be the one to say Rand Carthon is speaking out of his ass. Like, come on now.
No, I do think this is a real distinct possibility at this point.
Yeah.
That he goes this late. All right. With the Chargers, man, is Tyler Booker still on the board? I would love Tyler Booker here.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
You go Tyler Booker?
Oh, he's 48. I'm going Tyler Booker.
Really?
This Chargers offensive line now is Jim Harbaugh's dream scenario. Mekhi Becton, Zion Johnson, Rashawn Slater, Joe Alt, Tyler Booker. Just horses.
Play center.
Zion Johnson plays center probably.
He can? I mean, Boston College makes those dudes like super versatile. I know that he probably had that skill set coming in.
Did he play center in college or did he play both guard positions? I know he moved at some point. Let me look.
Well, I mean, if there's going to be a school that is not like the premier schools to cross-train their interior offensive linemen, I feel like that would be the one. You want me to lock in Tyler Booker?
Played tackle. Yeah, Tyler Booker. I'm just Jim Harbaugh. I'm giving him monsters to work his magic up front.
Oh man, the monsters of LA. I love that, dude. I mean, Booker size-wise and physicality is such a like matching the energy. Like, meet my energy right here, says Mekhi Becton. Tyler Booker says, fuck it, meet my energy up here. I do like that quite a bit. 23 for Green Bay. This is your team. So yes, I will be like hitting you up in terms of what you think value-wise they're going to be looking for. I know you guys fired a D-line coach. Looks like there's some optimism for the defensive line, because if you believed that the D-line was really lacking, probably wouldn't get rid of the D-line coach. So there's something there. I don't. Yeah. I mean,
everyone underperformed last year, though. They truly did.
Right.
So,
I mean,
see why they fired him.
There's the option of a wide receiver here, but we've not seen this organization take one in the first in like millennia before the NFL ever existed. But I mean, outside of that, I've seen people. I know Matt Miller, if I'm not mistaken. I'm literally rendering it right now, but like he ended up taking a tackle in the first. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I think it was Kelvin Banks though, which
it was Kelvin Banks.
Sure, you take Kelvin Banks, right? Just a little different than Josh Simmons at this point, or Gray Zabel at this point. Connerly. Some people like Connerly. I think Connerly is still going to go in the first round. I just think he's too athletic at tackle.
Sure.
But I don't know if it's to the Green Bay Packers. I don't know if they're going to draft a project.
So where do you look? Because you're not super high in the corner group. So I assume you're not a big Amos guy in terms of.
No, if the board fell like this, I would draft Luther Burden personally.
What would they draft on top of that? So we have your pick.
If the board fell like this for them.
Do you think KG could be on the board for him?
Yeah, honestly, they'd probably draft Scorton. Honestly, no, not Scorton. Excuse me. Stewart. Yes,
that fits.
They'd probably draft Stewart. Too. Yeah.
You know what? Let's have fun. Luther Burden. We're gonna say, like, what was it? Kellen Moore said, "I build tendencies so I can break them." Let's keep that energy. I like that.
Boom. Love it. All right. Let's see. For the Vikings, man, the Vikings don't have a lot of holes, but it's also like they have a hole at left guard though. Gray Zabel to play left guard, but is that really getting you over the edge? I'm trying to think with them.
I mean, I feel like the way they addressed interior offensive lines so aggressively in free agency, they definitely have shown the willingness to use capital for it. So it wouldn't surprise me if they just said, let's continue.
Let's get it. All right. Yeah. Let's go Gray Zabel.
I like it.
Just a good, solid player.
Yeah. I mean, so I was a big fan of Zabel. Like, I'm still a big fan of Zabel overall. Obviously, my the thing I love the most about him, like he did well in the Senior Bowl. Like that was great to see. But for me, I thought his best tape was versus his best talent that he faced. Like Colorado came to mind for me as one of those games this past year. And I thought that he performed really well, even versus guys with great leverage like BJ Green. So like maybe I'm a little bit higher on him, but for you didn't see that play strength the same way that maybe you'd be looking for, because guard isn't taken that early unless you do have that physical attribute.
Yeah, but he's an athlete, right? Like, he's a very good athlete, and his technique is so good. He was so impressed by him at the Senior Bowl. So yeah,
he's great. Okay, Texans 25. So you don't believe Josh Simmons is going to go in the first then, based on your comment about Josh Connerly? Like, do you think the patellar tendon was? I mean, he ended up doing some drills over his pro day.
Yes,
that was crazy to see. That was wild. Like looking at that, I'm like, really?
Or yeah, so I mean, that's good for his stock, but
right.
I think he still ends up going to the first. There's super tackle needy teams. We're starting to get to the ones that would draft him.
Yeah, and I mean, whether it's Simmons or Connerly, I think both of them. I actually didn't mind the idea of Simmons kicking into guard if he has to. I don't think that he's just a tackle if you need him to. So I like the safety that you get with Connerly or Simmons here. But if you think the NFL is going to be a little bit more happy about Connerly over Simmons due to health and then athleticism concerns, I'm not going to say no to that. It would be cool to. I've done Simmons so many times. I'm just going to go Connerly.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's a realistic pick there. All right, Rams. Man,
interesting board. The way the board fell is it's good. It's unique. It's good.
I'm gonna go Colson Loveland here, just because I think he's a darn good player, and I think for them, gosh, I'm blanking on Tyler Higbee.
Yeah, Higbee.
At this point in his career, he's been banged up a ton. Not the same sort of player. I think adding a weapon at tight end, especially with Loveland's caliber, I think it's just another option in that passing game.
Colby Parkinson hate is not accepted on this show. I love Colby. He's a former high school teammate, so it's like I will defend him to my last breath, but he's not a tight end one. I think we both can agree to that.
Yeah.
He didn't show it in the time where he had the chance. But for the Ravens at 27, deep down, I wish they didn't have so many guys like Travis Jones that could end up potentially being in KG's spot, because I just love Eric DaCosta just sniping every single guy. We're like, he fell. I mean, it's every year at this point. It's like, oh my God, he actually got him. But I always want guys like Shamar Stewart, like the bigger builds, to be able to play a Calais Campbell role. And I don't know if for me that's worth a first round pick, because I don't necessarily trust it at the rate that maybe some others do. What are your thoughts? Like for the Ravens, I'm higher on Amos. So it's like, I think that he also embodies what Brandon Stevens did well, not as much what he didn't. Could be an interesting pairing with Wiggins there. But like, what are your thoughts on the situation?
I do just feel like going corner and back-to-back first rounds is like, that's a lot to invest in corner.
Yeah.
It's a risky move. That's not. And especially for the Ravens, who usually like lean trenches earlier, it seems like. So I don't know.
Do you think they'd be a team to go after Shamar if he slipped this far? I feel like they might be.
Yeah. I think for sure they would be.
I don't like it, but I also think it's like compelling beyond a reasonable doubt that they'd go after Shamar Stewart here.
All right. I will. Detroit Lions. Man, I'm interested in just going Josh Simmons here for them and just banking on, hey, if he gets back healthy, put him at left guard and just keep this train rolling at the offensive line.
Hell yeah.
I think we got to do that.
I mean, worst case scenario, I mean, God forbid something happens to Taylor Decker too. You are right on, you're right on schedule with having Josh Simmons there. I've never seen that before. Actually, I quite like it. Because what was your opinion on Josh before the injury?
he would have been in the mix for top OT.
Yeah.
Truly. He was on pace to. He plays the rest of the year like that. He could have been my OT1. So.
Well, I mean, for me, he's still, I mean, I'm no doctor. So whenever I give a grade, if it's on a player that is post-injury, I'll just give it the exact grade pre-injury and just have an injury designation after.
Yes,
and say,
that's all we can really do, honestly.
Right.
From where we're standing.
I mean, hell, I asked my brother-in-law about Brock Purdy's elbow, and it's like, naturally, you're supposed to have a good amount of time healing it. The guy's back like 3 months later throwing. I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm like, all right, these guys are superhumans. I can't determine whether it's actually going to repair on time or not. So I decided to leave that out. But I'm going to throw a curveball here for the Commanders. There's a lot of good picks. Do you think Scorton's going to go in the first? Because I saw him fall to 60 in Matt Miller's 7th round.
I have no clue. He's
range.
Yeah.
Such a big
all
range.
over the place.
I'm going to go Amari Hampton here.
Okay.
I think they need a reliable option. And it looked, with retooling the offensive line, keep Jaden healthy, good blocker. You seem like you have something to say about it.
To me, that just feels like I'm just reminded a lot of, gosh, what it was like after Mahomes. I think it was after their first Super Bowl drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's like, that's kind of what it feels like. It's like, we got everything else. Now it's time for the running back. But like, I do think uniquely they're different because the running game's so big there.
Right.
You know, part of Jane Daniels' magic is that like the running game turns into a god tier running game because you have to worry about him so much. Whereas with Mahomes and whatever,
not so much.
You don't want to run. You don't want to hand it to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You don't want to hand it to anyone. You just want him to run the show. So.
This is true. Yeah, I just feel like, especially because we had concerns with Jaden's health coming in, with the fact this dude would try to leap over a defender every single game. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, you don't want Jaden to turn into a human pinball machine. Like, I feel like taking those reps and putting it in Amari Hampton's role, and plus that pass blocking, like, I think he helps out in all phases. So I'm pretty happy with that.
All right. I have the Bills on the clock. Man, this is the point of the draft where I'm at the end of the first rounds where I'm just like, dude, I don't know if I like anyone. I'm
so you're lower on KG.
I am lower on KG.
I am too.
I think the guy I would take here for Buffalo, I think I'd go Matthew Golden. I know they have a zillion wide receivers. Matthew Golden, Texas wide receiver. I know they have a zillion wide receivers at this point, but they do not have a guy who can truly win on the like an outside route runner.
Yeah.
And not to say that Golden's like he's not like a pure X wide receiver, but he's like close. He can do a lot of the things on the vertical tree on the outside to win. So, and they just could use that in the offense. It takes you to a nice level. So I'd go him.
Right. I mean, I've seen people take Ibuka to him. I feel like it's good to know Ibuka can play in the cold versus Golden's a freaking Texas merchant with Houston and UT. But I mean, I feel like Ibuka feels so similar to Josh Palmer's role in the offense. You're not carving out new role, new reps, new plays.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that Ibuka is Palmer, just FYI. I'm saying that there's not as much addition to the team, regardless of whether you think one's better or the other. With Golden, I really do see that deep speed being a legitimate opener for different plays, different schemes that you can end up running. So I like the fact that it opens up the playbook a bit more. All right, Chiefs. Now, this is a team, I'm a little bit lower on KG, but this is a team where I debate it. Like, I debate taking Kenneth Grant here solely because the surrounding cast allows him to not have to stand out, and it puts him in a good spot. That being said, what are your thoughts on the rest of the tackles?
Oh, I can't tell you, but the highest ranked player on my board, because I want him for the Eagles, is an offensive tackle right now. The highest ranked player available.
I might piss you.
I'm looking at my board right now.
I'm going to piss you off by doing this.
Do you know who? You probably don't know who I'm going at as my top ranked player available, but.
So there's two guys. There's three tackles. Obviously, I assume, are they in the top three?
Let me look at the board here with what.
Are they in Trev's top three?
They're not in Trev's top three. Gosh, they're not in Trev's.
Damn. Okay. So then we're not going to be disagreeing.
So then, okay. So you can take whoever then. You're not going to take my guy.
Oh, shit. Like, you're going to throw I love this. All right, cool. I was saying, okay, maybe Donovan Jackson. They brought him in for a top 30 or Urzuri. I literally went to him and I'm like, go to Stout U, buddy. Like, I told him in person, I'm like, just go to Stout U. But I think that my only issue with taking a left tackle here, like Ursary needs so much development. The Chiefs haven't done it. Jackson has shown that he can do it even with little development, but he still needs more coaching.
Mhm.
Trapilo, you're having to kick him to the left side.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't love any of those guys in the first round. If I was the Chiefs right now, I'd probably lean like Scorton.
Yeah.
Or Grant. Scorton or Grant. They're both honestly like Chiefs who are defensive linemen. So
I just would be in the mindset to where Kenneth Grant's ceiling is too high and you have the mentorship there to where it's the highest chance of it working.
Yes.
So I'm going to rock KG.
Yeah. That's probably the first team where I'm like, yeah, I'd take Kenneth Grant. Like I said, I don't love Kenneth Grant. But that's the first team where I'm like, yeah, okay. It makes sense.
I love you're the first person I've had on the show that actually is not overwhelmingly in love with Kenneth Grant. Really? I am also of that group, like your group.
Yeah.
It's intriguing. Like, do you think that it is more just pure upside that people love, like that unique frame and stuff, or like I feel the consistency is not there?
No, I'm with you, and he played probably 2 good offensive lines, like really good offensive lines. Texas, Ohio State. Ohio State was good, but that was also by the time Simmons was out.
Right.
Texas, he was nowhere to be found, man. I mean, and as a pass rusher, he's Jordan Davis. He is a straight bull rusher, and Jordan Davis has some awesome reps at the NFL level. If you were to redraft that class, Jordan Davis is not a first-round pick. Right? He's just not. He's to make that down-to-down impact because he's too linear. You just need a little bit extra. I just worry about Grant being too linear.
Ooh, I mean, to be fair, his most famous rep, arguably, is him chasing down Kaytron Allen from behind, which again, linear. Like
it feels like that's how. Remember, like Trayvon Walker's best reps were him like dropping into coverage. If you can't show me like some filthy pass rushing moves, it's like
get the fuck off my board.
That should be the reps, right?
Yeah,
So
like Mike Green just destroying Josh Fryer.
Yeah, those are easy to see.
Beautiful.
Those are what you want to see.
Yeah.
All right, mine. I've done this I think my last mock I did this. And I love this guy's tape. I don't see any way, not see it anyway, but like I don't see any reason other than where he played to not say that this guy should be a first rounder. And it's Charles Grant, the William & Mary offensive tackle. He's an elite athlete. He has elite traits. He has very good hand usage in terms of like body control and how he deploys them. He's a former wrestler. He's only been playing football 6 years, I believe. So all those things added up. And dude, I think if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles and I have like a 35-year-old right tackle, I'm doing what they've always done, which is draft the tackle before you need it. So Charles Grant.
All right. Be proactive rather than reactive. What's funny is, do you think that Charles Grant ends up going in the first, or are you more so the mindset that's like, this is a guy who I love. I'm putting him here because I think I love the fit.
I think he's going to go a lot higher than so Trev's board, he's almost at 100.
Right.
I think consensus board is where he's almost I think he goes top 50.
Okay.
I just find it difficult to believe that kind of athlete at tackle doesn't fall. You remember where like Kieran Amagaji went last year, the ALOT? His tape stunk compared to Charles Grant's, right? Like their tape he was so far behind the 8 ball developmentally compared to Grant, and Grant's also an elite athlete. I think his freaks list numbers were insane. I'm not sure I think they had him as like a 1-4-4-10 split, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a lie.
Holy shit.
But still, like on tape, he's as good an athlete as any of the other tackles. Now, obviously, like Membu's a little bit more put together and like freakier on the whole, but this guy can really move. So,
okay.
So yeah, I just think I think it's one of those things where like, maybe not a lot of people have watched the tape and gotten to the point where, but he to me, I would bet good money goes top 50.
So if you were to recommend for people to find a couple games of Charles Grant, what games do you think would really like gives people your point of view? Like maybe I've watched the wrong games. I haven't fully been sold, but I'm also somebody who is very, very open to reanalysis and seeing it through someone else's eyes.
Man, I don't know. I don't watch games like that.
Okay. Do you have Ultimate?
I have a way. I have
a different one
source. Yeah. That lets me make cut ups. So
gotcha. Okay. Well, that's fair.
So I don't really like, I will do some of that sometimes, but more often than not, I'm like chopping it up to see what I want to see from guys. So
like like true pass sets.
Yeah. Things like that. And so
that's a dream.
Watching him. I mean, like, he's not going to start right away. And again, you're not drafting him to start right away, but I just think he's sweet when I watch him play.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll have to go back and rewatch him then for the mic. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Obviously, people know where to find you. You're Mike Renner over at CBS as well as X. I'll be shouting you out on X anyways. But thank you again for coming in. Thank y'all for watching. We'll see you later.